as the Office of Emergency Management, our role is to prepare the city. So in my office, we house all of the emergency operations plans. And my role is to make sure all the departments are trained and ready for hurricane season.
Today we're setting up an exercise, the medical-friendly shelter here at the Virginia Beach Fieldhouse. This shelter is set up specifically for a large-scale type event where the city has declared a state of emergency, and we determined that there is a need for sheltering medically fragile or persons that need or are dependent upon refrigeration, electricity, oxygen.
We were able to develop a partnership with the owners to include their ability to let the city rent this building in the event that we needed to open a medical-friendly shelter here. We were able to work with our city garage and get a tractor trailer mounted generator that the city owns. As a matter of fact, now we've exercised that capability right now, and we are on generator power as we speak.
Fully operational, it's estimated that this would cost about $150,000 a day. This shelter here, it's estimated that we can take 300 medical guests within this shelter, another 1,200 of their caregivers and family members. What they should bring with them is 72 hours worth of their medications. They need to bring their own bedding. If they have a medical device that they're dependent upon, they need to bring that medical device. This is not a medical care shelter. This is not a medical care facility. So when they would need electricity, we can provide electricity for them. When they need oxygen because they're oxygen dependent, they can come here and we can help them out with their oxygen supplies. We can provide that. If we have persons that are within the city that may be mobility dependent, they have to transfer out of a wheelchair into a bed, we provide an area in this facility to be able to take care of that.
Healthcare and long-term care facilities are always a challenge in our planning because they're private sector and we want them to plan ahead.
Atlantic Shores, specifically Seaside, our skilled nursing facility, is part of a regional event, and we're doing a mock evacuation of 30 residents of Atlantic Shores. So we are taking all the material, all the medical records on each patient, medication, food supply, and we're assigning it to the patient. In this situation, we're saying that there was 4 feet of water damage and we now need to evacuate.
Any land recovery would be impossible, so they'll have to use helicopter. And the Virginia National Guard was tasked with the mission through a request from the Eastern Virginia Healthcare Coalition, and they're determining the closest and most suitable aircraft to come pick up these patients and take them to the evacuation zones that they've identified.
It only takes one hurricane to cause us problems. Hurricane Matthew, folks are still recovering from that. And we want folks to think about it now, to plan, make your plan, get your kit together, and stay informed, be educated, because personal preparedness is so important. So Know Your Zone is knowyourzoneva.gov, which is also on our website. You just have to go to vbgov.com, and there's a link there for emergency preparedness.
On Sunday morning, March 11, 2018, just after midnight, Brenna McCoy and Krista Dunn were busy breaking down the ballroom from a previous banquet event at the 57th Street Wyndham Hotel. Suddenly, an employee rushed in and shouted an employee had collapsed in the banquet kitchen.
Our cook, Henri, came in running for help, and then when we ran to the kitchen, we found Jonathan on the floor. He was unresponsive, and finally Krista said that we needed the AED.
We put the pads on him, it did its diagnostic stuff, and it said to shock. Brenna hit the button. After about 2 minutes, the machine reevaluated. It did not say shock, and then I could see a pulse in his neck.
Because of their previous CPR training, they reacted in a calm and professional manner under life-threatening circumstances. From the information stated, these outstanding ladies exemplify themselves as true lifesavers, and it's with great honor for me to award these ladies with the Virginia Beach Lifesaving Award. And Brenna?
Virginia Beach,
It's nothing but a group of caring people. They look out for each other, and this was a fine example of that happening, and so I could not be more proud of those young ladies doing a great job saving someone's life.
If I had to use one word to describe Brenda and Krista, the two young ladies that immediately went to work on me in CPR, and one of them ran down and got the defibrillator and gave me the shock, I would say angels. And the reason for that is because I'm here.
This year's winner is Lynn Honeycutt.
This is National Travel and Tourism Week, and we're celebrating here in Virginia Beach our own tourism industry that's so important to our economy. And so often when we talk about tourism, we're talking about product. It's hotels or convention centers or new projects we want to build. Well, today is really an opportunity for us to celebrate the people that make tourism work.
But the truth of the matter is, all the great hotels are wonderful, all the great restaurants are wonderful, but none of them are possible without the people that make that work. And that is why we are here to recognize each and every one of you for what you do for the industry every single day.
And this year, Lynn's dedication to ensuring guests are taken care of was on full display this winter during the USA fencing event while a massive snowstorm hit the city.
So as a convention services manager, once the salespeople book the convention, then they need to get back to selling and they turn everything over to services. So we plan all the transportation, their off-site events, welcome desk at the different hotels, just anything that needs to be done to make sure they have a great experience here in Virginia Beach. What an honor it was to be recognized. It was just really made me feel great. I told my husband I hadn't felt that much love since the day we got married.
Ike Owens with IMG.
I'm an event producer, and I produce the event from artist selection to production. I do the Virginia Beach Funk Fest Beach Party, which is one of the top urban beach parties in the state of Virginia, probably, and one of the top in the country. And we have totally old school groups from Cameo, Confunction. It feels great winning the award, to be recognized by your peers, your hard work and dedication. You all see it come together.
Tourism to Virginia Beach, the spending that visitors bring to our community is almost $1.5 billion per year. It's an infusion of new wealth into our community. That's so important that tourism provides as an economic stimulus that really help Virginia Beach create jobs and create economic vitality. It takes all these different individuals to come together to really provide the hospitality experience that without them, we wouldn't have a tourism industry.
In 1978, best friends Mary Russo and Dot Wood worked with city leadership and a representative from the United Community Fund to create a central hub, then called Volunteer Council, for residents and visitors to seek out ways of putting community in government.
We wanted to have a volunteer program in each neighborhood so that we could take care of each other rather than depending upon the city. She told me how important it was to keep our city going, and her husband was a circuit court judge, and he also believed in it. He didn't think Mary should volunteer maybe quite as much. She volunteered every day of the week, and she was just an amazing lady.
Mary truly was amazing. She served in a leadership role for the Office of Volunteer Resources for decades, and her staff and volunteers have continued her legacy with the same enthusiasm and passion.
Mary Russo was the mother of volunteers in Virginia Beach, and when I went to Japan with her, we went to this volunteer summit, and they introduced Mary Russo. And when they introduced her, the whole place just went silent.
The Miyazaki delegation was introduced to the Volunteer Council. They were so impressed by this unique workforce of volunteers, serving side by side with paid Virginia Beach City staff, they were convinced Miyazaki City had the same need. Miyazaki, Japan became a sister city of Virginia Beach in 1992 after a decade-long courtship between the two localities.
It's really a cool thing that, that Mary was able to reach out halfway across the world, other side of the world, and impact volunteerism there.
In June of 2014, James Park was appointed by City Council to fill Mary Russo's shoes.
It's amazing how our volunteers and our work with them has really changed in so many ways the citizen involvement with the city. It really is a question that Mary Russo used to talk about with community engagement. I have the wonderful task of continuing to convince our department directors as well as state agency people not only the value in terms of time, but the value that they bring in terms of making a real difference in this city.
That continued support by department directors begins with sustained backing of their volunteer resource managers. VRMs were written into the original recommendation made to City Council all those years ago. And to this day, volunteer resource managers are the linchpin to our success.
I recognize, and I have for a long time, the value of bringing in people from our community to make our community better. The purpose of city government is to make this city the best place to live, work, and play, and who better to give us advice on how to do that than the people who are living and working and playing in our city.
The one thing I've noticed is that volunteers are very engaged in the community, and as a result, they are often very educated on issues. So many times when we have public hearings and things like that, volunteers are the ones that are out in the forefront. Virginia Beach tends to be a much more active city with respect to citizens getting involved in things, and I think a lot of that has to do with the volunteers.
The future of volunteerism looks bright.
My hope would be is that we would become a more inclusive government that allows for volunteers of all walks of life and all ability levels to engage with city government. There are so many really neat programs out there, internship programs and AmeriCorps Vista and volunteer programs for seniors when they retire that I think we've only scratched the surface of what volunteerism could be in the city. And I hope that the future of our organization really embraces a broader volunteer engagement process.
Well, I think I was raised to be a volunteer. My parents volunteered a lot in Alexandria, and we were always taught that was what you do. And I hope to pass the same thing on to my children and grandchildren.
I think volunteerism will continue to make a real difference. I think we're going to see more opportunities are available as more department directors see their value in terms of simply not saving money, but making a real difference in terms of citizen engagement.
The most important thing that we can give as advice to future leaders regarding volunteerism is how important it truly is to the fabric of our existence as employees. So the first thing that I learned coming on board was that some of our best ideas come from people who are not employed by the city. They're people who can kind of see us from an outside perspective. And so my hope is that future leadership will see volunteers as not only idea bringers, but also the future of government. We have an amazing opportunity to include young people into city government through volunteerism, and that could be the future workforce of our city.
When Adam Thoroughgood came to Virginia in 1621, he was a young indentured servant, eager to learn the tobacco business.
On a visit back to England, he met and married Sarah Offley, who came from a wealthy merchant family. Adam returned to Virginia, not only with his new bride, but with 105 people for whom he paid transport to the new colony.
The colonial government's land granting system allowed for 50 acres of land per person they paid to transport. So the Thoroughgoods received a land patent for 5,350 acres. The award was made south of the James River, which was unsettled by the English at that time.
Adam and Sarah Thoroughgood lived in this area, what is now known as Virginia Beach. But they did not live in this house. Just recently, it has been verified that the house was built by their great-grandson, Argall, in 1719.
Archaeologists excavated areas around the house, but did not find evidence of Europeans living on the site before 1720. Since we know Adam never lived in the house is now referred to simply as the Thoroughgood House.
And this is what they call looking through the window of history.
Though Argall Thoroughgood II is credited with building the house, he died before it was finished. His wife Susanna completed it and lived here with her children. Around 1735, when her son John inherited the house, he made notable modifications.
He installed and painted the wainscoting and other woodwork, increased the width of the passage, and built a fashionable turned staircase. If you would like to learn more about the Thoroughgood House and its significance in Virginia Beach's history, tour the house and visit the new Education Center, Thursday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Virginia Beach's history is America's history, and I'm so excited about this center opening today.
We opened the new Thoroughgood House Education Center, and we reopened the Thoroughgood House after it was restored. There was really a need for this. We had a little reception center here on the property before. It was about 300 square feet, and it was filled with mold, and it didn't have a restroom attached to it. It didn't even have running water.
The building is broken really into two parts. One side is dealing more with the day-to-day. There's a small meeting space in there for the community. And then the other side of the building is where the exhibit space is. The focus, of course, is on education through exhibits, through artifacts, and through interactives within the exhibit itself.
I learned about the history of Virginia Beach. And I learned about that the people in the Adam Thoroughgood house did not have no TV or no electricity.
We have artifacts that were excavated right from this site, the Thoroughgood House site, and we have artifacts that were excavated from the site where Adam and Sarah Thoroughgood lived. We have some great artifacts that are related to the Revolution, that were used in the American Revolution.
Mr. Jones, he was very supportive of this, and it was a dream of his to have something here.
Virginia Beach has a lot of history, and the Thoroughgood House is a part of our history. It's important to us that we remember where we came from, where we are now.
My grandfather was still a painter. My uncle is a painter, so I just always been painting and sketching and drawing.
Back in June of last year, we put out a national call for artists for a muralist to come and beautify this walkway underneath the Rudee overpass. And we selected artist Giuseppe. He goes by the moniker Pepe Gacca. He hails from Italy, but he does a lot of murals internationally, especially all around the US.
At the beginning it was just a hobby, then became my third job, then became my second job, and then eventually became my full-time job. I'm gonna paint all the columns, and it will look like it's like stained glass. So that's the concept behind it. On each column, you're gonna have something connected to Virginia Beach, either an animal, or like a dolphin, a sea turtle. Since last week, I've been working on this. Should take a couple of weeks longer. Well, the weather has been an issue. It gets really windy, really cold. I just do my best to beautify the place, so I hope people will enjoy my concept, and I hope people's gonna like it.
What was an ordinary, concrete utility space is now something like, oh, what's on this side? Oh, how about this? I just think it really does transform it into something special.
This is gorgeous. We love it.
beautiful.
Oh my God, it's magnificent. We've been walking by here for over 30 years and just watching it being done, we're thrilled. It's just so beautiful.
The Tidewater Veterans Memorial was built to honor and pay tribute to all military veterans from Hampton Roads.
It was dedicated on Memorial Day, May 30th, 1988, marking 2018 as its 30th anniversary.
Located across the street from the Virginia Beach Convention Center, the City of Virginia Beach provided the land and an appropriation of funds for construction. Bill Halliard, a disabled veteran, came up with the idea shortly before his death in 1982. His idea was carried forward when local military veterans and community leaders formed the Tidewater Veterans Memorial Committee. The committee wanted to involve local youth, so they sponsored a contest among local students for the concept and design. 3 Virginia Beach students shared in the final concepts, on which Joseph A. Miller, a young architect, designed. The spherical forms represent a world divided by war. An effort to bring all people together is depicted by the water elements. And the wall of flags symbolizes the service rendered by veterans.
The POW MIA flag flies beneath the American flag in special recognition of recent conflicts and our commitment to those who have not yet returned. This flag will remain in place until all of our prisoners of war and missing in action are accounted for.
Managed by the Mayor's Veterans Committee, the Tidewater Veterans Memorial is the focal point for Memorial Day and Veterans Day activities held annually.
From concept to fruition, the memorial has been and will remain part of the great legacy of service rendered by our military. May we never forget.
I'm 1 year out of their life, but I hope that in that 1 year, what I do really makes an impact. Both of my parents are retired Virginia Beach school teachers, so I grew up, as a child of parents who did this. And I just really got to see what teaching was like, and I would play outside with my friends, and I was the teacher and had my little class with all my mom's old books, and so it's just always been what I thought I would do when I grew up. Every day's different. We make sure the day is letting them be who they are. They do for me as much as I do for them. I get to have that creative outlet fulfilled as a teacher. So just like I give them those creative opportunities, getting to come in each day and figure out ways where we can get involved in the world around us in creative ways that are exciting, that's fun for me too. I really believe children learn best when what they're doing is tied to experiences. So that's my philosophy of how can what we are doing really tie to the real world and give them those experiences where they don't need to ask the question, well, why do I need to know this? Because they know that from the start of here's what really goes on in the world and here's how what you're doing is going to help you later or even make an impact right now. I absolutely love it when at the end of the day somebody gets called for early dismissal and you hear the, oh no, I don't want to go. It's just, that's rewarding to me of, okay, we've nailed it then.
We are really sorry to interrupt, but we wanted to take just a minute to come in and to say congratulations to Ms. Follin for being the 2019 Citywide Teacher of the Year. Give her a round of applause. We do have a check for her for $1,000 for you to spend.
Exciting, just quite an honor. I don't think I've grasped the whole thing yet, but yes, just overwhelming, but very excited about this opportunity.
She's really nice and she always lets us do really fun things.
She treats us with so much respect. She never singles out anyone, and then she always makes sure that everyone's doing the same thing and everyone gets what they need.
I am so excited for Melissa Follin and really for the whole Old Donation School community. It's amazing when one of your own is held up as a model for other teachers, and truly I can't think of anyone else who's more deserving
of serving as a role model for the best of what we want in all classrooms for all children throughout Virginia Beach.
I'm very proud of her.
He opened this school. He is the figurehead of this community. There isn't a time where I don't meet parents who were former students of Randy, and they all know him, they all love him. He is a big teddy bear, and he is very passionate about community and service.
It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining. It was gorgeous. Mr. Sparling went over all the do's and don'ts of what you're supposed to do when you're out in public as a large group. We went, got on the buses, and then the buses took off. And, you know, we were hopefully on our way to have a great day.
I just heard a terrible noise, and I saw some things flying across the windshield, and I was sitting right behind Randy, and I saw him jump up and run to the door, like not even a second. Jump up at the door, and I just heard him yell, "Call 911."
You could see the glass and plastic and stuff hurtling towards the windshield of the bus. And as I see all of this plastic and stuff come to the bus, Randy jumps up, opens the bus door, and he's out of the door within like seconds.
But it happened super fast. It was so fast. But Randy immediately was out of his seat.
I saw something terrible happen. I knew because of the crash and the extent of what was going on, I knew I had to get off that bus as soon as possible, and I did. The motorcycle hadn't even stopped because the motorcycle was still going across Indian Lakes Boulevard before I even got off. I mean, when I got off the bus, it was still rolling, and I looked, you know, at 2 o'clock of my 2 o'clock, and the man was laying on the ground and he was bleeding profusely. I know if you don't stop the bleeding within 4 or 5 minutes, you're going to bleed out.
He called for a belt, a tourniquet, and so Mary and I both were like pulling off our belts.
I hollered back onto the bus and said, "I need a belt," and all of a sudden belts come flying at me. It seemed like forever, but it wasn't. I believe I had the bleeding stopped in less than 2 minutes. I've been trained in first aid and through Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout myself and been in scouting for 49 years. So all the training and everything that I've been through it really paid off that day.
One little girl was like, "Oh man, Mr. Sparling, he's so kind-hearted." And I said, "Yeah, sometimes he comes off like a grizzly bear, but he's really a teddy bear." And I said, "He's there, so he's gonna be okay." I said, "Mr. Sparling's in charge. The guy's gonna be all right." I said, "If anybody can do anything, it's him."
You know, he held it together for all of us so well, and I think that's what he does all the time, that he's, you know, he's such a good role model and a leader for the kids and the staff.
It's just wonderful to see someone who thinks nothing of being selfless, showing children what a true role model should be.
The firefighters called and said that, you know, they're in stable condition, and I just thanked the Lord that they were alive, and, you know, got myself back together and went on the rest of the day.
I know it was a difficult situation for the kids to encounter, like, you know, what they came across that day. But at the same term, when you have someone like Randy who is in their charge, who is, you know, there to help them and to mentor them, you know, as an educator or in whatever capacity, you've got the right person for the job. The entire time, the thing that I remember the most about Randy is he was constantly pointing, doing, communicating, talking in a very calm, strong voice. It was quite a relief, especially to know that someone like that was there to help me.
When I got to school on Monday, I must have had 70 or 80 kids run up to me in the hall and say, Mr. Sparling, are they okay? A couple of the kids said, well, what can we do? What can we do? And I mean, they wanted to try to do a fundraiser. They wanted to do something for them. You know, we came up with making a couple posters to put in each one of the rooms at the hospital and letting the kids sign them. And then all of a sudden, handmade cards started coming in. The kids were dropping them off at my office all day. And hopefully the kids learned, you know, that you can do good things and there are good people in the world.